Welcome to the Springs in the Desert podcast. We are the friends you can take with you wherever you are on the path of infertility. If this podcast has been a blessing to you, would you consider giving a gift today to ensure that those on the path of infertility always have a friend in their back pocket? Thanks for your support, and let's dive in. Hey there, welcome back to the Springs in the Desert podcast. I am Jillian, your host, and we have one of the loveliest guests back with us today, our dear friend, Steffani. I'm so excited to be here with you today. We're going to have some great conversations. Listeners, we've had Steffani on before, just delightful conversations. We'll link that in the show notes so that you can access those really quickly. But Steffani, for those who maybe weren't around when you have been on our podcast before, would you please just introduce yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. And thanks for having me again. It's like getting to catch up with old friends. So my name is Steffani, and I am the founder of His Girl Sunday, which is a ministry and a business that is centered on rebuilding a sense of Catholic culture as it's prompted by the liturgical year. And my mission has really been to get into the roots of our communities, our homes, so that everybody, regardless of what season of life you're in, you can see very clearly that there is a place for you at the table, and that we're all meant to be in community together, living this Catholic lifestyle in a way that makes us joyful and holy.
That's amazing. That's a beautiful mission. Steffani, I really just want to dive right in because liturgical living is something that I love, and it has been such a rich part, I think, of my ongoing love of the Lord and like a daily conversion of my heart. And so how did you get into liturgical living, and where did this spark come from that has really, I think, made a beautiful imprint on digital, Catholics digitally, online, but of course in our homes too. Where did that start?
I mean, it came from my family, and I'm very grateful for them. My family was just really great at living the seasons, and I have a beautiful Catholic grandmother who, Hispanic family, just very intergenerational. Everything was just so beautifully family oriented. And I really clung to those elements of my upbringing and my childhood. I was telling my mom on a call the other day, we were chatting, and I'm like, thank you for the Catholic faith, and thank you for making our life extraordinary, right? Like in the midst of a lot of ordinary, my parents were just very good at welcoming people in, doing extra special things for seasons. Now, my family my mom was Catholic and she gave us the Catholic faith, but we weren't really raised Catholic. And so we never called it liturgical living. Those two words were not in my vocabulary until my 20s. And when I saw liturgical living online, I'm like, okay, this kind of resembles what I grew up with, and having a sense of Catholic culture, and this is just kind of the way we do things around here. But I felt like liturgical living, those words kind of drew a sense, I guess, a certain picture in people's minds, right? I'm trying to speak carefully because I want to make sure that I'm not isolating anybody in terms of, saying liturgical living, but basically it just felt like it was very much as an opportunity to teach your kids to do a catechetical craft. I think some people look at that phrase as being kind of woo-woo. And it really is the very life of the church. And so I've been striving to show people that it's so much more than what you think it is. It's richer than what it might appear on the surface.
I love that. And I can relate to sort of both of those sides. I started my career in parish ministry. And so I was, living at the parish, essentially. All of the changes of the seasons were very known to me. I often was implementing them, instructing them, coordinating those things to happen. And when I would come home, it would feel there was sort of a disconnect whether it was simply liturgical colors or the prayers that were changing in maybe liturgy of the hours, things that we were doing at the parish that at home I felt like I'm removed now from this change of seasons. It's just June or it's just October. And so then when I left parish ministry, I felt that even more, like it was so stark that now, like the seasons, I'm just, if I'm only at my parish once or twice a week for mass or for other occasions, I'm really not experiencing this, like the seasonal changes, and I'm feeling this distance from that. But most of the things that I was presented with were for children or families with children, which, as you said, and we've actually we've talked about this in a couple of other podcasts. The most recent, and maybe it's actually I think it's in our Theology of the Body series, and that in America, the structure of catechetics is for children, and so there's sometimes a disconnect about how to like really immerse yourself as an adult into like instruction of the faith. And so I I follow you on Instagram and love all of that. But could you talk a little bit about that it's so much more like what I think when we're presented with the, which are really cool, like the crafts and all those things, like it's fun to be able to do those things. But if me and my husband maybe don't want to do that on a date night or something, so how does this like really, how can living liturgically like fill the spiritual lives of a couple, of a family of two, of even if there are listeners who do have children, of the spouses in and of themselves, that it's not sort of only for children, that it's more expansive than that.
Yeah, I love how you put that. That's such a great connection. I'm going to get to that. One thing I want to say too is like, this is for everybody, right? And I say that all the time, and people are like, yeah, yeah. But I mean, truly, think about it. Even if you're a family with children, what's going to happen when your children aren't the age of those catechetical opportunities anymore? And so really what I'm saying is for the good of you too, those families too, right? That at some point, the children are going to be older and they're going to be adults with you. At some point, those kids are going to be off in their own families and it's just going to be you two, right? And so I circle all of this back. I try to like reach my arms out to every single person, regardless of whether you're in your 20s and you're single or you're a man, which that is just like a totally like black hole of like nothing is there. Nobody's talking about that, right? Like, and so I'm trying to like speak into all of these areas, all of these places where we find ourselves, because at the root of liturgical living, and to put my like theology teacher hat on, is liturgy, right? And liturgy is the praise of God through all that we have, right? Through our sufferings, our petitions, our thanksgiving, like all of this very human incarnational response of participating in the worship of God. Liturgical, that word, right? Living is to take that, what we receive in the sacraments, and just draw that out through the week so that we are, again, becoming very incarnational in our faith. So a lot of people think like, well, liturgical living is for my children, or it's for me, or it's for my marriage. And I say, well, yes, but first, liturgical living is for God, right? Like that's what the church says that true festivity is. We're festive, not for ourselves, right? But for God and everything that he has given us, every blessing, every grace, every moment of mercy, that like, that's our, I love you. Like liturgical living is your, I love you back. And I want my life to show that. A lot of what we see on social media, one of the things that's trending right now is like Nona maxing, or, we see a lot of clips of people in community and they're eating and they're drinking and they're laughing. Guys, that's already written in to the very heart of the church. All I need you to do is stop watching it and start doing it, right? And that's what I feel if liturgical living at the core is love, right? Relationship, right? Going back to liturgy, then that will prompt you to do things that you may be too tired, too distracted, too busy, whatever to want to do, right?
That whole like mic drop for that whole that whole section. I love that. And what Steffani, what I right that relational aspect or core of liturgical living, right, is prayer. Like that is a prayer. And I think, at least for me, prayer was modeled in one way, one particular format. And it wasn't maybe modeled to me as a young person that prayer can look a lot of different ways. And I think, I mean, even in different rites within the church, like there are so many. I mean, the Pope Leo has been traveling around the world, and so we've been seeing him at different masses, and there's liturgical dancing in parts of the world, and there are more solemn masses in other parts of the world. But those are all prayer, and one isn't better or more prayerful than the other. And so I love what you were saying there about this, about relationship, because my relationship with every person that I am in relation with is different. It looks different. And so it making space in your home, in your family, in your community, in your parish for relationship is going to, there's not a sort of one size fits all, but the seasons do provide a kind of a framework or some sort of a fence, if you will, about here's what you can play around with, here's what you can do to, make relation with. And so I'm wondering if I have a lot of questions about prayer really now, and I'm wondering, like, does that resonate with you? This idea that like it can all be prayer, that this is a way for your family, no matter what size, to pray by living liturgically.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is the universality of the church. And I think sometimes we can get very hyper focused on our style, flavor, brand, whatever you want to say, of
Yeah.
Catholicity, like in the very place that we're living. And we kind of make that, that's all we see. That's what we know. But yeah, I mean, this has to, if the liturgical life is for everybody, then it has to extend around the globe, right? And the thing is, like, the church has shown us that since the time of Christ, right? That from the
Yes.
moment Christ left, which we're about to celebrate, right? Or that we just celebrated the Ascension, and we're coming up on Pentecost, that we see that the people of God have been seeking connection, relationship with Jesus from the moment he left them. And what's so immensely poignant is that we've never stopped. There's something written into the very core of who we are that just yearns, right? Yearns for connection with God and with each other. And so this really is a form of prayer. And that can look very much like formal prayer written into your liturgical lifestyle. But in a sense, the very doing of those liturgical actions in the church or in the home or in the community is also prayer. It's the offering, right? And if we understand that like reciprocity of Jesus offering himself incarnationally, that we offer ourselves incarnationally, and we're imitating him, and we're also being fulfilled through those actions.
Yes. Amen. Oh, so good. So good. Stephanie, I'm imagining that there's going to be some listeners, and mostly because I know this was a place that I was at where I wanted to start adding some liturgical living into my routine personally, and also wanting to invite my spouse into this conversation and this idea. And so let's maybe start individually. If someone is wanting to just like get a taste a little bit more, like get like immerse themselves a little bit more into liturgical living and into this like deeper sense of incarnational prayer, where would you suggest that they start? Because there's, I mean, a million things that they could do, depending on where they live and what their culture is and all of that. Where would you suggest that they just start?
Yeah. I think I don't want to assume a baseline, but so I'll say it, right? That we're going to Mass on Sunday. Sunday is called the primordial feast, which is why I called this His Girl Sunday, right? It's a helping towards Sunday, but also the extension of that. So going to Mass, having a routine confession life, a routine prayer life, like if we don't have that, maybe we need to turn our attention there because it's there that all of this other stuff will flourish. You're going to want more, right? It's like, oh man, like I want Mass to last longer than an hour. And I want to see that in my life in a variety of ways. And then from there, I say, maybe do a couple of things. Look at your own heritage, look at your own culture, um, dig into your family roots. I mean, we even see like the roots of Jesus's family, right, in scripture. So there is like merit and fruit to that, that we kind of know who we are and whose we are. That way we could kind of like present ourselves in the world in a way that's like um, full of pride, right? That's there's a
Yeah.
joy in that. And so one of the things I did is I looked back into my Hispanic culture. I looked back into my Irish culture and what do they do? And is there anything that speaks to me there? I think the other thing you can do as well is kind of look at your charism. Like, do you like fashion? Do you like cooking? Do you like crafting? Do you like hosting? There's so many opportunities there. And think about maybe some of the saints you love, you know, one or two for the year, maybe like a special season that you want to focus on, then you can build out.
Those are I love those suggestions, and I was thinking of like I believe it was probably at this point 5 or 6 years ago, but I really like wine. I like wine tastings. I like pairing it with food, and so I said like I just really love the idea of bringing people around a table for a wine tasting, but also like how can I make this Catholic? Like how can I mean not that wine doesn't have, of course, scriptural references in and of itself, but like how can we make this a true festivity, right? Like a true feast. And so the first one I held was on the Feast of the Sacred Heart, and it was so fun. Everyone who was invited told me what they wanted to bring. So pasta or a dessert or a salad, and then I suggested like bring this wine to pair with it. I did some research and I have some family who knows a lot about wine, and so I said bring that. And my goal was that at the end of the night everyone liked every wine because of what it was paired with. But there was also like I tried to match it like to the Feast of the Sacred Heart, to liturgical living, to a saint, to all of that. So I think I love that. Like just find something that's resonating with you, something you're excited about. Maybe there's a feast or a solemnity or a saint that you really love, that you have a connection to, and like celebrate with them. Like elevate that. And that is that particular evening, I have like so many fond memories of that. And so I really love that on top of the culture. Because I think sometimes, at least maybe in the circles that I run in, we don't always know our heritage very well. Some of that is lost over generations, and the sort of structure of families maybe not living like in community as much as like traveling and going, across the country and across the world. Sometimes you lose connection to that history and heritage. And so those are, I think, just like incredible, like great ways to start because there's so much richness that could be found in that search.
I really need you and the other people online that are doing these things to come and like we need to like just say, you know what, we're just going to sacrifice it all and we're just going to live in the same area so that we can really just like light one place in this country up with like
Yes.
Catholic culture.
Yes. Yes. I love it. You just name the place. You name the
We need
place.
it.
Yes. And that I think that's so I recently moved to where I'm at, and that has been challenging. I still don't have like quite a community. I haven't really found places to like go or things to participate in, and I'd love to host. And so it's also challenging to like host when you don't know people to invite in. And so that I think investigating your heritage, and also like I said, you said saints and feasts, to be able to maybe and also regularly going to mass and confession, you're going to meet people who have similar interests or similar cultures, things that maybe you have in common, that you can start building a community, from there. That I love starting off, for me anyways, community has been challenging to build. And so I think starting in a different place, starting with like where the Lord is leading you and what resonates with you and what you love, I think will likely naturally result in community and finding people who have those similar interests. Or maybe you'll just move across the country to be with those people.
Yeah, don't do the simple thing and find people in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just move.
Yeah.
Just pack up and move.
Yeah, just move. Well, Steffani, for those who maybe can't do that, but for those who like, all right, I really want to invite my spouse into this conversation, and maybe this is a totally new concept. Like you said, sometimes the masculine heart and mind is missed in these conversations. That not only is it like liturgical living is sometimes positioned only for children, but then like, okay, this is something more like feminine, more creative, like this, like there's these ideas, like we silo some of these gifts to different, whether that's the masculine heart, the feminine heart, which is sometimes, sure, like maybe these gifts are more naturally lean to a male or a female. But it's for everyone, as you said. This is for everyone, your whole family, no matter who you are, what experience you have, no matter your age. And so, how would you suggest spouses coming together? And maybe there's a husband listening to this podcast, or maybe there's a wife listening to this podcast, and they really want to invite their spouse into that conversation. And where would you suggest they start?
I think, I don't want to be repetitive, but like invite the conversation, right? A part of it is like we're not saying it out loud, and we want it,
Sure.
and we know we want it, and maybe we've kind of mutually, like in passing, shared that like we have these desires for community or to be with people. I think especially like struggling with infertility can really throw you for a loop in community, and like, where do I fit and how do I build that, right? But part of it is a very intentional conversation, and that's what my husband and I did when we first got married. Now, I'm very lucky in that my husband is one of 11. He has a family with tons of traditions. It was rooted in the liturgical year, where mine was more rooted in the natural seasons. But having that conversation and saying, okay, we want to continue this, and it's for the good of this marriage, but it's also for the good of what our family mission is. Like, my husband and I both felt like our mission from the very start, before we even knew we couldn't have kids, was to serve the community through a sense of hospitality, like Aquila and Priscilla. So that's my last name. So we adopted them very naturally. And it's just kind of wild, like what God is like doing with me. But anyways, it's, help me submit to you, Lord. But having those conversations and seeing like, okay, well, what does your husband like doing? Well, what saints does your husband like? I mean, if you look at the Feast of Saint Stephen in Ireland, that was a tradition. I don't know if many people know about that, those customs, but that was an entire tradition led by men. The men dressed up. The men were smacking their bodhrans down the street. The men were knocking door to door and singing at people's homes for money for the poor. Like, there is a place. And sometimes as women, we have to just back off a little bit, instead of saying like, well, do you want to do this? Or would you like to do this? Or, we use those feminine genius things, and we try to like invite, right? But sometimes, and what I find sometimes is more helpful, is just like backing up a little bit and just hushing up a little bit and inviting, and then seeing what my husband wants to do and being like, cool, let's do that.
Yes, I love that. Steffani, this isn't entirely liturgical living related, but it is sort of like as you were saying, talking about the Saint Stephen tradition. I studied abroad in Rome, and this is probably like the top 3 like memories days of my life. It was one of the most incredible days. And I was studying in the fall, and my birthday is in November in the fall. And the evening of my birthday, we also had a celebration because the chaplain on campus was 5 years cancer free. And so we were celebrating. And I also was hoping to maybe like go out to Rome later in the evening for my birthday, like with all my friends. And after about an hour at the celebration for the chaplain, I realized I could not find any of my friends. I could not, they were nowhere. And there's only, I mean, like maybe 120 students on campus at a time. It's pretty small. And so it was obvious. Like all of my friends have left the building. And I like lean one of my like areas to improve. I lean into self-pity quite a lot. That is like something the Lord and I work on consistently. And I was like, great. Like they went to go have, a whole like evening without me. And so I literally, I like go all over the campus, cannot find anyone, not a single one of them. I go up to my room and I call home. No one answers. My parents don't answer. My friends back home don't answer the phone. I was like, no one cares about little old Jillian on her birthday. And so I literally, Steffani, I kid you not, I got into my pajamas. It's like not nighttime yet. Like it's not time. I got into my pajamas. I turned the lights off and I literally like went to bed. About 20 or 30 minutes later, one of my roommates and best friends comes in. She's like, hey, what are you doing? You should like throw on a dress or something. And at this point, I'm so mad. I'm just sitting fuming in my self-pity. And
don't tell me what to wear.
Yes, yeah. Don't tell me what to wear. And I'm like clearly like washed my face and I'm not going anywhere tonight. She goes, no, just do it. And so I was not ready to like go out or anything. And she is like, just come on. So she brings me into the hallway. Like we're not leaving campus. We're just like on the same floor and brings me to another room. All of my friends are packed in this dorm room. And all of my male friends went down to the local grocery store and they got like the biggest vats of wine they could find. And everyone was dressed up for a night of dancing, like in this dorm room. And then the men, like specifically, the men were like, all right, it's our turn. They brought me into a separate room. They all like circled around me and they sang me the song Carrick Fergus, which is like the most beautiful, beautiful song ever. But they made it clear there will be no female singing. Like we want to sing to Jillian. And I get chills like receiving that gift of them like singing to me. And so this story is like totally, like funny and like beautiful. But sometimes like, yeah, to just make space for, as you said, like our husbands to say like, I want to do this for you, or express something that maybe they're not like typically expressing. Or if you are in a community, like inviting the men to come up with an idea that themselves and together, because these like the men who were singing to me were incredible men individually, but collectively, like these men were meant like you didn't like, you're not going to mess with them. And so like, just like, I think, yeah, finding opportunities to, like you said, really enter that dialogue and allow both of the masculine and feminine genius to contribute can make like amazing beauty, like good, true, beautiful things. And so I love, as you were saying, like what saint or what does your husband do for work, or like what resonates with him, and maybe finding a way to celebrate that a saint that's the patron of that. Like I think sometimes I overcomplicate it in my head and it has to be this like whole big ordeal. And it can really be this just a simple connection between the things that we love and God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely so true. And I love this story because it's just so human. It's just so
Yes.
human, Jillian. And I honestly, like, I get it.
Yes.
But to then experience something where you saw the beauty of your female friendships, but also the beauty that resonates with male friendships. And yeah, like you said, to leave space, but to also just see like, what are they going to come up with? You know what I mean? Like what resonates with them and what would be encouraging to them to live their faith for our husbands and our male friends, right? Like it's a joy to like have male friends that will sing or will dance or will grill or will just bring some beers or whatever. Like the opportunity that they provide. You know, my husband loves the St. John the Baptist bonfire. He loves building a bonfire. That's very much up his alley, and he grills and he dances with me, and it's just wonderful. And it's one of those feast days that I get to not be the full facilitator of, right?
Sure.
And I think that again goes back to community, that maybe initially one person will have to kind of be the facilitator of doing things, but hopefully there's an encouragement of community that will come together, and everyone will kind of pitch in their own way.
Yes.
And allowing for the messiness of that too, you know?
I love that and love this conversation. I'm going to listen back to this. I'm going to listen to it with my husband, as I think there's just so much richness here. And, you know, Steffani, I could talk to you really for hours about liturgical living, because I love everything that you share online. And so how can our listeners get in touch with you? How can they keep up with the things that you are doing and find His Girl Sunday? Where can they go to meet you online?
Sure. So if you want to see in real time, quick, easy nuggets, you know, follow on Instagram or Facebook, Steffani, His Girl Sunday. But if you want the longer winded version of me and you like the theology and the history and the liturgy and all that type of thing, you can go to my website, hisgirlsunday.com.
Do it. We'll link it. Do it. You will not regret it. You'll not regret it. Well, Steffani, thank you again so much for being on this episode and for talking about something that I think can be so beautiful, not only for those in our community who often have a family of two or more, right? It doesn't matter what size family you have, that God is pursuing you and wants a relationship with you. And there's some really like fun, beautiful, creative ways to do that together, individually, with your spouse, with your family, your community. And I'm so excited for our community to dive into that. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Listeners, please check out the show notes. You're definitely going to want to keep up with Steffani. We'll link some other episodes down there as well. And just know that we are praying for you and hope that after you listen to this, that maybe you and your spouse can dive into some liturgical living celebration in the near future. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us for this Springs in the Desert podcast episode. We would be so grateful if you took a minute to rate, review, subscribe, and give today so that we can reach more listeners on the path of infertility. Don't forget to check out our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, and go to our website, springsinthedesert.org, where you can subscribe to our newsletter and community prayer list, read our blog, and register for virtual and in-person events. And most importantly, remember that God loves you so much, and so do we.